morning, everyone, and welcome to the November 14th meeting of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. My name is Mary W. Sharp. I will be serving as your chairperson today. We will begin this morning's meeting with a roll call. Mr. Ragsdale?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Norman?
Here.
Hill?
Here.
Mr. McKinnon?
Present.
Ms. O'Connell?
Here.
Mr. Winter?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Tolles?
Here.
Ms. Wellbanks?
Here.
Chair Sharp?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located in the front right podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out an attendant speaker's card located at the front podiums. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPD staff members located at the left podium. When that agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter on the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for a recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would like now to get approval for our minutes from the last meeting. May I please have a motion?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Are there any director's remarks today, Mr. Ragsdale?
No, ma'am, there are not.
Okay, would you please give a secretary's report for this month and explanation of today's procedure?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's no secretary's report, so I'll go into the procedure. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask if the board members have any additional questions for anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, entertain a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony for any party for additional clarification, a motion will need to be made along with a second, and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion of the agenda item. If the public hearing portion is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and then take a final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required of applicants since their names are already part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we certainly welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off of work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments be made, please, within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. Lastly, I'd like to ask you to silence your cell phones so as to not interrupt or disturb anyone during today's meetings. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right Ms. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 22 as the consent agenda individually. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of the items individually, please come forward and give us the item number and we will pull that case. We'll then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, would you please proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 1, case SUP 2024-011, near Jackson. The request is a special use permit to allow vehicle sales in the commercial mixed-use 3 district located at 4965 Summer Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 2, case MJR 2024-038 in Core City. The request is a site plan review to allow fencing for the Malco Powerhouse Cinema and the Memphis Farmers Market located at 540 South Front Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions and some friendly amendments, which Mr. Ragsdale will read into the minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. The friendly amendment is as follows. Condition number 1, we would strike the words at the end that are to no less than 50% of the total length. So the condition would read, at least 75% of the total length of the fence shall be set back at least 4 feet from the back of the sidewalk. The zoning administrator may, at their discretion, approve a reduction of this requirement. And so we're striking the part to no less than 50% of the total length. Condition number 2 remains the same. Condition number 3 will be replaced with a revised landscape plan shall be submitted subject to review and approval by the zoning administrator. And condition number 4 will read, and I will read this and mention the things that are changed. The gates at the curb cut shall be, currently it says closed, we're changing that to open, at all times except during the operating hours of the movie theater. They may also open to accommodate the operation of events, including but not limited to the farmers market. And we're striking during such events, they shall remain open for the duration of the event and reclose at no later than 4 hours after the conclusion. So the condition number 4 would read, as it's revised, the gates at the curb cut shall be open at all times except during the operating hours of the movie theater. They may also open to accommodate the operation of events, including but not limited to the Memphis Farmers Market.
All right, item number 4, case SUP 2024-027 in Parkway Village. The request is a special use permit to allow vehicle rental located at 5709 Mount Moriah Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 7, case SUP 2024-034 near the university. Request is a special use permit to allow a bar/tavern located at 485 North Hollywood Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 8, case MJR 2024-042 near Jackson. The request is a major modification to allow an indoor market with gas pumps located at 3502 Summer Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 9, case MJR 2024-043 in unincorporated Shelby County. The request is a site plan review to allow a restaurant located at 3785 Forest Hill Irene Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 10, case MJR 2024-045CO in unincorporated Shelby County. The request is correspondence for the Grays Creek Business Park PD to allow a self-service mini storage facility, revise a concept plan, and modify a condition related to materials and design located at 10561 U.S. Highway 64. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 12, case MJR 2024-047 in Cordova. The request is a major modification to allow a veterinary clinic located at 8385 U.S. Highway 64. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 13, case PD 2024-017 near Jackson in North Memphis. The request is a new plan development to allow a wholesale retail business located at 3763 Jackson Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 14, case S 2024-030 in North Memphis. The request is a 26-lot residential major re-subdivision for townhomes located at 190 Chelsea Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 15, case S 2024-035CO in unincorporated Shelby County. The request is a 3-lot major re-subdivision located at 11405 Long Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 16, case S 2024-038 in Core City. The request is a 2-lot major It's a two-lot residential major re-subdivision located at 105 South Willette. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 17, case SAC 2024-006 in Core City. The request is a closure of a paper alley located at the southwest corner of Central Avenue and Cooper Street. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 18, case SUP 2024-037 in North Memphis. The request is a special use permit to allow used car sales located at 2554 North Watkins Street. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 19, case SUP 2024-040 in Core City. The request is a special use permit to allow a commercial parking lot located at 60 North 2nd Street. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 20, case SUP 2024-041 in South Memphis. The request is a special use permit to allow vehicle service in Goldsmiths Regional Shopping Center, CP, located at 0 Elvis Presley. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 21, case SUP 2024-042 in Core City. The request is a special use permit to allow a social service institution located at 777 Firestone Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. And item number 22, case Z 2024-010 near the university. The request is a rezoning of a portion of a parcel from R6 to CMU1 zoning located at 485 North Hollywood Street. Staff recommendation is approval. And that is our consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Anyone now wishing to pull a case from the consent agenda, please come forward and give us the item number. Okay, we have pulled items numbers 3, 5, 6, and 11. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with 1 vote, subject to the recommendation of DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only items number 3, 5, 6, and 11 will have full independent public hearings. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its findings, and where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve item number 1, case SUP 2024-011. Item number 2, case MJR 2024-038 with friendly amendments. Item number 4, case SUP 2024-027. Item number 7, case SUP 2024-034. Item number 8, case MJR 2024-042 as a whole. Item number 9, case MJR 2024-043CO. Item number 10, case MJR 2024-045CO. Item number 12, case MJR 2024-047. Item number 13, case PD 2024-017 as a whole. Item number 14, case S 2024-030 as a whole. Item number 15, case S 2024-035CO. Item number 16, case S 2024-038. Item number 17, case SAC 2024-006. Item number 18, case SUP 2024-037 as a whole. Item number 19, case SUP 2024-040 as a whole. Item number 20, case SUP 2024-041 as a whole. Item number 21, case SUP 2024-042. And item number 22, case Z 2024-010.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we will go to our regular chair. To my left, Mr. Brown Gill.
Item number 3, PD 2024-013, Parkway Village.
Okay, with the applicant, please come forward, give us your name and address, and let me know if there's any opposition.
David Bray with the Bray Firm, 2950 Stage Plaza North. I believe there is an opposition card.
Okay.
Yes,
I see
correct.
there's opposition. Okay, thank you. Okay. We're ready to hear the case.
This is Alexis Longstreet with the DPD, presenting on case PD 2024-013. This property is located on East Shelby Drive, more or less 700 feet west of Tullahoma Road. This request is for a new PD to allow a drop yard. This property is located in the Parkway Village neighborhood. About 25 notices were sent out on August 16th. This property is currently zoned R8 zoning. It is surrounded by majority of residential properties as well as the airport as well. This property has a current land use designation as vacant. Yet again, as I mentioned earlier, it is surrounded by primary residential being both single family and multifamily. The current lot is currently vacant and encompassed by mature landscaping. This is the concept plan here, and I will zoom in more so that you all can see the graphic, and I will just go over some of the specs in which the concept plan includes. There are about a total of 200 spaces on the lot. A proposed curb cut will be located northeast of the lot along East Shelby Drive. There's a proposed gate entrance. There is a designated 20-foot tree preservation and landscaping buffer along East Shelby Drive. Class 3 buffers and tree preservation along the eastern and southern portion lines. Security fencing along the western side of the property, separating proposed Area A and Area B. So if you all look here, there is Area A, and the remaining of this lot is designated as Area B. The designated detention located at the northwest portion of the lot here is proposed on the boundary of Area B. There's a designated shared detention basin located in the southwest portion of the proposed boundary of Area B. And majority of it seems to be located on Area A as well. And then awning will be provided for the trailer repair area along the northeast area of the Area B, which is located here. There will be a driver's lounge in which drivers would be able to go in, lounge, shower, I believe, and just a common shared open space for, people to mingle essentially. This plan was deemed inconsistent with Memphis 3.0 on a land use, form, and location characteristics, zoning notes, and existing basis. It does have a future land use designation for anchor neighborhood, primary single unit, therefore being designated for residential. As I mentioned earlier, a few conclusions. So back in 1990, City Council approved a PD to allow the uses permitted in light industrial zoning district. And we were unable to locate the original documentation to pull further details from that original proposal from the 90s. But April 11, 2022, Land Use Control Board recommended approval of a zoning application that proposed the rezoning of the subject property to split zone the western portion, light industrial, and the eastern portion, office general. The final disposition for that was also not able to be located. The applicant is proposing, in lieu of this plan development, to subdivide the subject property into two areas, which was Area B and Area A. Area B will be regulated by EMP zoning uses. Area A will be governed by the BOA case from 1990, along with the neighboring property located west, which is also an industrial mid-commercial use property that is currently being owned and operated. The applicant is not proposing any fueling services. So this is not, your typical truck stop of like a Love's or anything like that. And then the drop yard, as I mentioned earlier, would be located within Area B of the proposed plan development. Recommendation is rejection, however, if approved with the revisions to the outline plan conditions that can be found on pages 15 through 17 of the staff report that you all have in front of you.
Thank you, Ms. Longstreet. Do we have any questions of Ms. Longstreet right now? Any questions? Okay, we're ready for the applicant to make your presentation.
Thank you, guys. Again, David Bray with the Bray Firm. As you read through the staff report and as you listen to the presentation, until we get to the Memphis 3.0, it sounds pretty positive. Just flipping through the staff report, page 13, we're in agreement. Page 14, we're in agreement. We're all good until we get, that's page 12 also. We're all good until we get to page 15 where it deals with 3.0 and says, this proposed use does not align with the Oak Haven Parkway Village Planning District priority to preserve and protect residential neighborhoods from industrial uses with natural barriers. Can we go back to the aerial view? This is Shelby Drive. 0.3 of a mile to the west is the airport. 2 miles to the west is I-55. 4 miles to the east is Lamar. I looked yesterday at the TDOT numbers for this, and 26,956 vehicles a day come down Shelby Drive. I don't see this as a walkable area. Shelby Drive is crucial to the trucking industry in Memphis. To me, this seems like an appropriate use. We also did research trying to find those 2 cases that were mentioned before, and as far as we could find, they were both approved. They were just never executed. So this has always been an industrial area. It's always been a vehicle-centered area, and we believe that this is appropriate. As mentioned in the staff report, it's not a fueling station. We're not talking about a truck stop. We're talking about a place for truck owners and operators to park their vehicles overnight or for 72 hours or whatever as you guys are probably aware. You know, they have mandated rest periods. They have to have a place to put their trucks. It's a major issue all across the city. You find trucks parked all over the place where they shouldn't be. And it's why there's been an influx of drop yard parking applications in the last couple of years, because we got to have places to put these. Mr. Casides is here with me today. He's the proposed owner of the development. They want to have the, I'll let him explain the units where the vehicles can be off and still have air conditioning, still have air services and things like that, so that we don't have idling trucks in the area. That use will be expanded if this becomes a wanted necessity. I think the only one right now that offers that is over in West Memphis. I don't think we have one in Shelby County that offers that at the moment. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. If you have questions about the operations of it, Mr. Prestigious can answer those. And other than that, we'll reserve our time until after the opposition has a chance to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Do we have any questions of him right now? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for the opposition. Mr. Donald? Or is the applicant going to say something first?
No, we're fine right now.
Okay, all right, we're ready for the opposition. Ms. Donald? Give us your name and address.
Good morning, board members. My name is Mary Donald. My address is 3183 Bluebonnet Road, Memphis, Tennessee 38118. I want to say that part of what the applicant spoke about this area always being industrial, that is not correct. When I moved in that area I believe it was 1996. That area was residential, and it was zoned for farmland in certain areas. I guess since about 2000, industrial uses have been creeping into our area, and it has made it into what it is now. Now, I can guarantee you neither one of these individuals live in our area. They don't have to deal with the increased traffic. They don't have to deal with the fact that we are a food desert now because the last grocery store that we had closed down about 2 years ago. They don't have to deal with any of the things that we have to deal with. We don't have a library in that area. We don't have a community center where residents can go to. And it's just a shame. The majority of the residents who have reached out to you all, as well as myself, agree with your contention that this should be rejected. We also want Memphis 3.0 to do its work as they told us that it would be done to be changed more toward the residents of the area, for it to be used more by the residents. They are already overseeing projects in that area with sidewalks. They changed the intersection of Shelby Drive and Tullahoma to facilitate better crossing of the streets. and they are still doing their work. They have recognized that, to a certain extent, that there is things that need to be added to our area that will enhance our area. So I agree with what the board has said to reject this, because enough is enough. We are tired of industrial uses creeping into our areas, very tired of it. And we feel that the city is not paying attention to what the needs of Oak Haven's residents are. So, that being said, I have said all I need to say, and I hope that you will go ahead and vote rejection of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Donald. Do we have any questions of Ms. Donald at this time, board members? Okay, we are ready for the remarks. Rebuttal.
Yes, ma'am. The biggest concern, I mean, we can't do anything about the food desert concerns or library concerns, and those are all things that are needed in that area. I'm not sure Shelby Drive is the place to put them. This use is not going to increase traffic on Shelby Drive. This is going to be used by vehicles that are either exiting Shelby Drive off of I-55, coming out of the airport or the services there, and or headed over to Lamar. I go back to 26,956 cars a day on Shelby Drive. This is a heavily traveled area. We do have on our site plan a 20-foot tree preservation area. We actually have the fencing set back behind that so that it won't be like a wall right up against the sidewalk. You'll have the sidewalk, then you'll have a landscape area, and then you'll have the fencing back behind that. So the walkability through the area will be preserved. This is not going to be something that has constant in and out. This is something where, you know, the vehicles come in and they stay for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, and then they're coming back out. It's not a constant operation. And we believe it's compatible with the area. And when you look at the aerial view, you see heavy vehicle traffic uses in this area. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
I have comments, not a lot of questions. I agree with the young lady who spoke earlier, and I totally disagree with you guys. I remember that land. A gentleman bought that land years ago that had a contract with the Postal Service to help deliver mail. And I wasn't on this body, but I came out and spoke against it, and it was blocked in. It's the same spot of land. That area they're trying to bring it up. There's an entrance to Oak Haven there where they put some nice columns, and it's a residential area. And I do agree with you that it is heavily traveled. So why would we add more? It would make it even worse. And there are people who live there. I own a 45-foot rig that my family, we travel around in, and you run your generator when you just want to run the air, usually. Because I heard you allude to that the trucks, the engines wouldn't be running, but I would imagine generators would be running when they're there. And it's just, I couldn't imagine us allowing trucks to park where people sleep and have to hear that all night or seeing that. You know, it's not a good look for that area because it is residential. It may be people that we may not care that much about, but I do. And I just want, this shouldn't be there. There are so many accidents that happen because of the traffic. I live over there, actually. And I see they put for people to cross that street. I've seen people get killed, and they have to bring helicopters in to take people away. And because there wasn't a red light there, a turning signal at one point in the city, put that in, and that helped some. And now they're trying to beautify the area, and your drop yard is a walking distance from there. I have a 3-acre lot there that's beautiful. You're not in the ghetto when you come on my property. But I do not want, and for the neighbors, forget me, it's a horrible thing to put, it is our duty to protect neighborhoods, all neighborhoods. And you know, this project, had I been in Japan, I would have flown back for this one. When I saw it, my heart was broken and I'm not upset with the gentleman. I mean, he's a businessman. I respect the businessman. I'm a businessman. But that particular project does not fit with this area because it is a residential area. Move it somewhere where there are no houses for miles away, you know, where no one sees that. This should not be here. And for that reason, I wish I could vote more than once. But I only have one vote, but I will be opposing this one.
Thank you. And you had something to say? Somebody else?
I was just going to ask about the gate access. How would that work? Is there somebody going to be allowing access in and to and from the property, or?
So it would be an automated gate. So
Give your name.
my name is Stephen Christides. So it would be an automated gate system, open 24 hours a day when people have access. So they have a code they can enter in and get access 24 hours a day. And then we'll have an attendant there about 40 hours a week, 8 to 5 regular business hours. And then we'll have a tire service available 24 hours a day. So throughout the night, they may come and go if they have a service call, so they may not be there for every minute of it. But for the most part, we'll have the tire shop open 24 hours a day.
Okay, thank you. Please provide your address as well.
4646 Poplar Avenue.
Right. Thank
Memphis.
you.
Thank you.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay. Anybody else?
I just wanted to ask, okay, there's a drop yard that's been built probably 2 miles from several subdivisions in Cordova because I detest these tractors and trailers and tractor trailers just being parked on a right of way. And it's lovely. What is and I'm sorry, I just can't look it up quick enough. And they have the gate and it's working so well. What is the perimeter? They've got brick columns, they've got a 10-foot wood fence. You don't see anything. What is your perimeter?
So we're looking at 8-foot chain link fencing, vinyl coated around the front, and either 6 or 8 foot around the other 3 sides.
So just chain link?
Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, with barbed wire on top.
Anybody else?
Yes.
I would like to hear a little more about how this drop yard differs from other drop yards. I read the letter or in our package how there is hookup for HVAC, and how
Right.
there's, so that the trucks don't have to idle.
Right.
And I think that is very compelling. So trying to weigh that versus the location. So I'd like to hear more about that.
So probably 95% of the trucks out there right now, diesel commercial trucks, have to be running to get HVAC, heating or air conditioning. There are about 5% or less of trucks that have an APU unit, which is a $12,000 system that gets installed on the truck that allows them to run air conditioning and heating while the truck is off. So that's the minority of trucks, less than 5%. 95% of them, if you look around town, if you go to any truck stop, you'll hear trucks idling. The majority of them are idling so they can get that air or heat. So what we're going to have is units in between each parking stall for the overnight parkers. The guys are there just for their break, that are taking a 10-hour break. So this will allow them to turn their engines off and still get electric, heat, or air conditioning. So it's going to reduce tremendously the amount of emissions that's going into our air. A truck burns about 1 gallon an hour of diesel just idling. So that's how much, per truck you're saving per hour. So I think it's a huge impact. I think reduces noise pollution and reduces emissions tremendously. And a lot of these places that trucks are parked are in low-income areas where people are, if you look at the other drop yards in Memphis, they're right next to residential areas in most cases. There are very few that aren't, but none of them have these kind of hookups. There were attempts to do this about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and they kind of failed, but we have a real affordable, efficient system that just easily plugs into the driver's window and they can run their air and heat that way. So,
I have a question. I know you call this a drop yard, but I didn't see this use the same as a drop yard. There are 2 much larger true drop yards that are just to the east on the south side of Shelby Drive.
there's Interstate Drop Yard is one of them.
And the way I view that use is that a driver drives in and leaves a trailer, but that the truck is leaving that yard. I saw your use is, it's a different model. It's a model where the driver doesn't detach. They have their load, they park, they can sleep, they can go in, they can take a shower. It sounds like they can hook up to electrical.
Right.
It's also, you have a much smaller site than the other two drop yards. So I assume that the cost per night is higher because you're providing more services. Is this, am I reading these two, are these two separate
Kind of.
uses?
So if you look at a Shore drop yard, that's a huge drop yard on Shelby Drive, about a mile and a half away, further east. And they offer monthly parking where they'll charge like $275 a month to park there. They don't have a lounge or laundry or showers or anything for overnight parkers. They have a bathroom, they have porta-johns is all they have.
Gotcha.
What we'll be tapping into is the guys that need monthly parking or long-term parking for their truck and trailer. In addition to the overnight guys that are coming through, there are at least 20,000 trucks coming through the Memphis area every day to either make deliveries here or they're just passing through. And so those guys that are coming through, they need overnight parking. And so we'll have two different options, long-term parking or the overnight parking. So, and then you have overnight parking without HVAC hookup or with. Ideally, we're gonna get guys when they come through, it's more affordable, it's an easier option for them to just hook up to our HVAC systems there on the site. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes.
Man, I didn't want to ask this, but I think it's a valid, how do you curb prostitution, or like what's the system that's going to be set up?
So if you look at the truck stops in Memphis, and up until last year, there were two major truck stops to service 20,000 trucks coming through the area. We tore down one of them, which is Pilot, which is at Shelby Drive in Lamar, to make room for the expansion of 78. So now there's one truck stop, Love's. And Love's has countless murders. This year alone, there have been several murders there. Prostitution, cargo theft is huge there. And the reason is, if you look at a truck stop like a Love's, there's no gate or perimeter around there. It's completely open. They have cameras. That aren't very effective, and they have security here and there, but we'll have a secured system where we have 8-foot high fencing, chain link, monitors and sensors on all the gates to know if someone's touching the gates. And we have backup bumpers where drivers can back up their trailers to the bumpers if they're secure, if they're loaded, and it prevents the door from opening up. That's how a lot of this cargo theft's happening. And Memphis is always in the top 5 of cargo thefts in the country, according to the FBI. And we're huge for cargo theft. And this eliminates the majority of that when you have backup bumpers that are like concrete blocks that they can back up to and prevent those doors from being open. Truck stops aren't the answer to the problems we're having, which prostitution, crime, cargo theft, all that stuff. Truck stops are just a haven for it. And if you look at the stats on Love's truck stop in Lamar, it's terrible. I mean, I think there have been 2 or 3 deaths there this year alone. It's just from people getting shot and stuff. So having a chain link, secured entry system and, fencing and perimeter around there, better lighting, we'll have much better lighting than the truck stops have. And then having staff on site 24 hours a day. I think those are some of the things that make a big difference for securing that cargo. When drivers are coming through Memphis now, their ELDs, their logging devices, notify them you're entering a high-risk cargo theft environment. So secure your cargo. Or a lot of guys are just avoiding Memphis. And so it's become a real problem, the cargo theft. And if you have a trucking company here, your insurance is probably a lot higher because of the cargo theft that's taking place here. So there's environmental improvements we can have over a regular drop yard, security issues, cargo theft, all that stuff gets reduced. When there's chain link fencing around the property and it's really secured, you have a good secure perimeter, you're going to reduce a lot of that, or almost all of that prostitution, I would imagine. I mean, that should be very unlikely that you'll have that on an environment like this.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So, sure.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, chain link fence don't beautify any property. I don't
agree with
care where it is, what neighborhood, a chain link does not add to property value.
Right.
The question I have when the trucks park, when I park my RV, I can plug into a 50 amp circuit. I'm assuming that's what you're providing, or 30 amp?
Well,
or
it's not
circuit?
just it's electric, and it's also HVAC.
But the truck will plug in to your device, right?
Correct.
And does it make any noise? Because when I'm in luxury RV parks, when in the summer, everyone's AC is running, no one's running an engine or generator. You can hear every one of them. And if I look at those spots you have, I have to assume that people will actually be using this. That would be very loud hearing all that AC running.
No, a truck engine compared to a small motorhome unit, and they have insulated HVAC systems. Ours will be an insulated, very low decibel
You still
system.
hear them. I've
Sure.
done this a while. You still hear them.
You sure do hear them, but you're in an environment where you can still enjoy yourself.
And then you multiply it by the number of trucks there. Would you want that? And I probably shouldn't ask you that because I'm sure you would say yes. Would you want that next to your house?
I probably wouldn't want it right next to my house, but these systems, if you look at where the entrance is on the north side of the property, the HVAC spots are only the ones on the north side, which is nowhere near any residential area.
That entire plot of land is near a residential area. On the back side, on the across Shelby Drive, and then to the east of it, it's a residential area. Those are people.
Yeah, so we're talking 200 parking spots. There are no more than probably about 20 spots there that have HVAC. So not all of them will have the HVAC.
Yeah.
The ones close to the street, and when you've got 26,000 cars coming through there every day, you're probably hearing traffic more than you're going to hear these systems.
But they're moving along. We don't want, and you're adding to the traffic, to congestion, and you're putting trucks there with a chain link fence around them, and you're telling me that that's going to enhance the area. No, sir. Thank you. There's nothing else to, I'm done.
And I see your side to it, but I just want to throw one fact out there about truck parking. The DOT did a study last year in 2023, and there are 3.5 million trucks on the road, and there are only 313,000 parking spots for those 3.5 million trucks. So it's a 1 to 11 ratio of parking spots for trucks. That's a problem throughout the country. It's even worse in Memphis. And so I get what you're saying, Mr. Thomas. I see that side of it. There are two sides to everything, and I see your side. But your argument is a lot of the reason why it's hard for truckers to survive and to park safely, because there aren't enough parking spots, because it's not something that people want to say, hey, we need more truck parking here. It's probably the last thing on the list most places need or want. But the fact that we're such a huge logistics hub, it means we've got to balance those things. And not everything's always positive on both sides. There are good and bad parts of that. You brought up I totally agree with what you're saying. Does it make this area prettier, nicer? Probably not. But if you balance the two, I think this is a perfect location because of the proximity to the I-55, to the FedEx Super Hub, to the BNSF Railroad. We have 5 Class 1 railroads 3.5 miles away. It's a great location from a logistics standpoint. And in our opinion, it doesn't bring down the area that much. And there aren't enough residences anywhere close enough to this to really have that negative impact. And so that's where we differ, apparently. So respectfully differ.
Okay, thank you. If there aren't any more questions, then I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Did you have something else to say, sir?
We would certainly be amenable to changing the fencing type around the perimeter. We do have it set back behind the landscaping, and the desire on this is to not take out those mature trees and come back with new plantings. We'd prefer to leave the trees and put the fencing back behind it. Obviously, in some areas, we're going to have grading issues, and we'll have to take out some trees, and we'll come back with landscaping to fill in those areas. But we don't have the fence immediately up next to the sidewalk or up next to the property line. We have it pulled back, but we would be amenable to changing that to a different type.
Thank you. Okay, without any further remarks, we're going to close the public portion of the meeting. Mr. Gill, would you give us a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Motion to approve item number 3, PD 2024-013, Parkway Village.
have a second, and we have a motion. Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'm assuming we're gonna vote individually? Okay, thank you.
Ms. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Norman?
No.
Mr. Thomas?
No.
Mr. Winter?
No.
Ms. Wilbanks?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lyles Wallace? No. Chair Sharp?
No.
Mr. Toll?
Mr. Tolles?
No.
Sorry, I thought. 6 noes, 4 yeses. Motion fails.
Motion fails. Okay, thank you. Mr. Gill.
Item number 5, SUP 2024-029.
Do we have the applicant? Would you come and introduce yourself and give us your name and address? Give us your name and address.
Jocelyn Vasquez, 5205 Winchester Road, Memphis, Tennessee, 38118.
Thank you. Okay, is there any opposition before we hear the staff report?
No, ma'am.
No opposition, okay. We're ready to hear the staff report. Okay,
Good morning.
You can have a
This
seat
is
if you want.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Good morning. This is Masano Stadnia with DPD. I'm presenting SUP 2024-029. The location is 5205 Winchester Road, and the request is a special use permit to allow vehicle sales. You can see the location map and also the vicinity map here, and also the zoning map. Here is the land use map, which is a combination of a single family use and also commercial use. As you can take a look at the zoning map, on the left side of the zoning map, we can see the intensity of the single family homes and also less intense commercial shopping centers. And on the right side, we can see that there has been a buffer that we have like more intense commercial or industrial uses, institutional uses on the right side. And let's move forward to this FEMA map as well. This subject property is located within the flood risk zone. And as you can see, this is the subject property on Winchester Road. And we also have noticed that they have put up fences without, I believe, without getting any permit. So they already have started working on their property, although they don't have any permit on this. And also their SUP has not been approved yet. You can see more pictures of the site here. And this is the existing recorded final plat for that small shopping center area. And this is the site plan that the applicant has been proposed. Based on the Memphis 3.0, this use is not consistent with the future land use development. And as a conclusion, I can say that the commercial shopping center, such as the existing strip center, the use requested to be in are not conducive for an automobile sale facility. Such centers are designed to have internal circulation and shared parking among the businesses in the center. An auto sale facility would relegate several parking spaces meant for shared use to no more than full-time inventory storage and display of cars for sale rather than available for shared parking. The staff believes that the granting of this special use permit will cause substantial detriment to the public good, and we are recommending rejection. However, if approved, we have several conditions. I need to change this here. This is a rejection, so the conditions in case the board approves are a minimum of 18 parking spaces shall be provided, 15 for vehicle for sale and 3 for customers. Employee parking shall be provided at the rear of the lot. Streetscape plate types SN or an equivalent approved by the Division of Planning and Development shall be provided along Winchester Road. The dumpster location and screening shall meet the requirements of the UDC subsection 4.6.8b. The existing detached pole sign along Winchester Road shall be upgraded to meet the current requirements for the commercial mixed-use district or removed, and a new sign constructed that meets the requirements of UDC subsection 4.9.7d. Lighting for outdoor vehicle sales shall be arranged or positioned to prevent a direct glare onto any public right-of-way or private property. No fences or gates shall be placed along the east or west property lines between the building and Winchester Road. The existing joint-use ingress-egress easement serving the site and shopping center shall be retained. The existing chain link fence with barbed wire along the east property line between the building and Winchester Road shall be removed. All parking spaces shall be painted with striping. The rear property line shall be screened with plate C or a class 2 buffer. The Walton Lake CP final plat will be required to be re-recorded. That concludes my presentation. Would be happy to answer any question.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of staff at this time? Okay, we're ready to hear your presentation to the applicant.
Ellos quieren saber qué tú vas a hacer diferente para esto.
Ok, voy a ampliar el estacionamiento compramos la propiedad. Sorry, not speaking English, I translator. Compramos la propiedad, voy a ampliar el estacionamiento hacia la derecha.
She has purchased.
Okay, you need to talk into the microphone.
She has purchased the lot next door because when we sent out the neighborhood meetings, the owner of that lot next door came and kind of like made her buy it. But she has purchased the lot next door because we were reading that she was lacking one parking space. So she bought the lot thinking that maybe she could move the fence over just a little bit so she could have that extra parking space to have the 18 spots that they were saying that was required, because there has to be 15 for the vehicles and 3 for the customers. So we've taken pictures where she has painted the spots that she says that it needs to be painted, the conditions. We do have the 18 spots. The barbed wire fence that was up at one time, they did take that down. The buildings are not attached from the neighbors, the other that are on the side of us. They're not attached. They're completely separated. I think that she might have said there was like a fence in between, but that's been taken down. And she said that she's willing to put up all the lighting they're asking us to put up. She's willing to put it up. Okay, vamos a querer decir.
But Madam Chair, excuse me, I apologize, but if there is land being added to this property to try to satisfy some things and to meet some of the requirements, we need to really understand that and get a revised site plan. And I'm not sure which lot that we're talking about, but my recommendation with this would be to hold this because we need to maybe even expand the boundaries and notice and get a full understanding of what is being proposed at this point.
All right. Would anybody like to make a motion to hold this?
I'd make a motion to hold for one line.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, there's a second to hold. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We're going to hold it for a month. Thank you. Mr. Gill.
Thank you.
Item number 6, SUP 2024-031.
Okay, with the applicant, please come forward and give us your name and address. We're on case number 6 now. Is the applicant present? That's the one we pulled. Is the applicant present on number 6?
And Madam Chair, I'll just try to locate, this property is located at 5435 Fox Plaza Drive. Is the applicant here for this case?
Yeah, we pulled it.
Okay, so you're representing this case as well?
Yeah.
Do you want to hold this for her to be present then?
Yeah, I thought she was coming.
Okay, Madam Chair, let's move this to the Hill and just see if she does arrive and maybe hear the next case. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. We'll go to the next case. Mr. Gill?
Item number 11, MJR 2024-046.
Would the applicant please come forward to give us your name and address?
I'm Trip Tresvant, or Stanley Tresvant. I'm the developer.
Okay.
Chance Walker, IPD Engineering.
Okay, thank you. And there is opposition on this? No, there's not. I mean, is there any opposition? We're on the next case. We're on number 11. Okay, then we're ready to make, we do have opposition? Okay. We have opposition on case number 11, and so we're going to go ahead and hear the case.
Good morning, Nicholas Wardrop, Planning and Development. This is a request to change permitted uses in PD 2010-313 at the intersection of South Germantown Road and Barbara Road to allow a mini storage facility. So a little bit of background history. You may remember, but we have some new members who likely don't remember. The board considered a very similar request to this at its July meeting this year, but the applicant chose to withdraw the application before a vote could be held. And while this application is very similar, some changes have been made, including consolidating 2 center buildings into one. I'll get into that. Ultimately, however, this is largely the same application as was presented to you in July, and so our recommendation is the same. It was rejection then, and we continue to recommend rejection. So here's a location map showing where we are. We're in sort of the southeast area along the Germantown line there. And here's a vicinity map showing where we mailed notice. Here's a zoning map and a land use map. You can see predominantly single-family residential uses, but also an apartment complex. And in terms of zoning, I would say most of the properties out here are in planned developments. Here's some photos of the site. You can see it's a forested site. On the left, you see what it looks like going down South Germantown Road. And then here you see the intersection with Barbara Road. And here's the other side of the subject property on Cotton Plant Road. Here's their site plan. So in the version of this application that was before you in July, that was withdrawn, this large building in the middle was 2 separate buildings. So that's the major site plan change that's occurred. And here's their provided landscape plan. Okay, I want to get into a little bit why we're recommending rejection on this. There's really three reasons. The first reason is simply procedural. This use is not permitted within the plan development, and I'll get into why that's an issue. Two is inconsistency with the original intent of the PD and with the Unified Development Code. And third is just a staff goal of seeing more active commercial uses along Germantown Road. So this application was filed as a site plan approval. So we don't put this condition in PDs very often anymore, but if you read a lot of 80s and 90s PDs, you'll see that they required final site plan review to come back to this body instead of being administrative approval. However, this use is not permitted in the PD. So we can't consider this simple site plan review. This has to be considered a change in the permitted uses, which is a higher level of scrutiny, right? We can't, if this use was permitted, we would just be able to look at the site, not the use. But because this use is not permitted, we can make critiques of the use. Second is that this request is inconsistent with the original intent of the plan development. So I'll go back. See, this is in Area A, down here at the southern end of the site. And Area A allows uses that are allowed by right in CMU2, but it also allows OG and RU3 uses, RU3 being one of the UDC's densest residential districts. So it's reasonable to assume that the original approval intended, a more active use than mini storage. And secondly, when the UDC was adopted, the conscious decision was made to be more permissive toward, multifamily indoor storage than mini storage. We found it to be a more generally desirable use. Finally, staff hopes to encourage more active, commercial uses along Germantown Road than what is proposed here. Even if the end use is to be storage, multi-story self-storage, which is already allowed in the PD, would be preferable because it's more similar to a traditional retail use. It's, a more active use with, people walking around than is mini storage. Third, this is anecdotal. I don't have hard data for this, but we have noticed internally an uptick in development interest in this area. I think that can at least partially be attributed to Topgolf. That is a major investment that folks want to be near. We find that we should try and encourage uses that take advantage of that investment. Third, we don't put this condition in PDs traditionally anymore, but back when we required site plans to go back to the Land Use Control Board, as a common practice, we put that condition in for a reason, right? We put that in there so we could have input on the site and, get a site plan that was, achieved general planning goals. And while our recommendation remains rejection overall, our conditions would require, if approved, our conditions would require a 200-foot setback for the mini storage and allow OG or CMU2 uses in that 200-foot setback. You can see a graphic of that here. I do want to also add that, I'll go back to pictures, the site remains forested. However it's developed, that'll be cleared. That represents a loss. And I do think we should try to get a more active use for that. So in conclusion, this application is substantially similar to a request that was withdrawn at our July meeting, and so our recommendation is the same now as it was then. We're recommending rejection for three major reasons, one of them being procedural, but also general inconsistency with the original intent of the plan development and the UDC, and a staff desire to encourage more active commercial-like uses along Germantown Road. You can see page 29 of the staff report for the full recommended outline plan condition revisions. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from staff now?
I do.
Okay.
Mr. Waldrop, tell me if, would Mr. not, I have a store still around the corner, and I abstained from this last vote, but it was for the purpose of hopefully seeing Mr. Trezevant kind of get a fair shake, and I'd like to comment on this and abstain from the vote, is basically what I want to do. Tell me this, would he have been better off to have just filed a new PD versus trying to edit the existing PD?
So the Land Use Control Board can change the permitted uses without having to go all the way back to council.
Right.
What you have to do procedurally for that is to trade out a use.
Right. Would that have been a better route?
I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Oh, would that have been a better route for him?
No.
Okay. Do you? I do want to correct you, as somebody in the self-storage business, the word mini storage was it's really a bygone word. It really defined self-storage version 1. And self-storage version 1 was a chain link fence, orange doors, typically in industrial areas because they were zoned for that use. And we're really on now self-storage 3.0, which is in its forms, in my opinion, they are essentially the same product, right? Whether you stack it, all climate, or you spread it one story, a mixture of climate and non-climate, essentially you have the same product. The only difference being, can you physically drive up to a unit? But what we've seen in the industry over the last 15 to 20 years is this push towards larger climate units. It's really around humidity. And so I think you're differentiating between two things that are the same thing, in my opinion. And I think that's where I struggle with the staff report for this particular applicant. So I was just wondering if he could have taken a better track and had a different outcome. So thank you, Mr. Walter.
Yeah, I do want to add, I totally understand your comments. So the UDC considers mini storage to be anything where the storage is outside, you drive up to the building, and indoor self-storage being a building where you walk in and it's contained in one building. So I just want to be clear that they are distinct uses in the Unified Development Code.
So what do you do? How do you define it in the UDC if you have a mixture? For instance, if you had a 2-story building, all climate in the middle, and then you had non-climate around the outside, how would you then define it per the UDC definitions?
It would be 2 separate principal uses.
Okay.
Yeah.
You would define it as 2 separate uses. Oh, interesting. Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
Okay, thank you. No further questions of the staff. Then we're ready to hear the applicant make your presentation, and then we have a supporter card as well.
Yeah, good morning. I agree with everything that was said by Mr. Gill. We were under the impression...
Can you give us your name and address, please?
Chance Walker. I'm the engineering representative, 8180 Airways Boulevard, South Haven, Mississippi. We were under the impression that the permitted use for this subject property is indoor multi-storage. Essentially what we're asking is we want to still keep the storage. We would rather not do the multi-story. We want to do only one story. The center building is your typical indoor conditioned storage unit. And then everything, the smaller unit buildings are your what we're calling mini storages. However, nothing will be outside storage. Everything is enclosed. And it will be screened with ornamental iron fencing, beautiful landscaping. In our eyes, we didn't see a difference. The only difference we saw was the instead of having 2-story, we want 1 story. So that's really all I have to add.
Okay. Can you give us your name and address, please?
I'm Trip
Again.
Tresvant, 7092 Poplar Avenue, Germantown.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm the developer. When I bought the site, the use was multi-story storage. I heard Mr. Thomas talk about the neighborhood and protecting the neighbors. I could build a 2-story or a 3-story or a 4-story storage here. Storage or mini storage is the same word which Mr. Gill was saying. We're not changing the use at all. The use can be 2-story or 3-story or 4-story storage. We're electing to propose a 1-story only for the neighbors that are behind us. When I came to present this same thing back in July, or whenever the month was, he said, the neighbors hadn't had a chance to look at it. So I pulled it because I'm very concerned, and my number one concern is with the neighbors. And so I pulled it. And so I've gone to all the neighbors and had a Zoom meeting with them. I've talked to Mr. Lee personally. I drove him around, show him some of our 1-story facilities that are unlike all the other ones. My facility, and Mr. Gill's got a beautiful one on Hacks Crossroad. Ours is going to be very similar to that one. We sent him pictures of ours. Do you have those? Can you put those up versus the trees? Because ours is different than the orange doors or the red doors. We're masonry. Mr. Thomas mentioned protecting the neighbors. We're having a wrought iron fence with masonry columns, masonry facing, the street. It can't be more residential looking. Like I said, I've had several meetings with all the neighbors. We have not had one neighbor who would prefer a multi-story building there than a single story. It just makes zero sense. I've tried to get property rezoned from residential to commercial, and I've tried a lot of different stuff with I'm a developer. I've never once gone across something where I'm making it lower density than higher density, and we have a rejection as far as the staff. This is just beyond my comprehension that they would prefer a multi-story. I asked him, he said, we thought about it, we'd rather have the multi-story. And I asked him, why would you want a multi-story versus single story? He couldn't give me an answer. I said, well, y'all tell that to the board. I said, you want a gas station up front? And he said, we want more people. That doesn't make any sense either. We're up against the neighborhood. Mini storage is very low density as far as we may have 3 or 4 or 5 customers in there at a time. It's not a gas station. It's not a tire store, but we could put that up front, which he put that big building along Germantown Road. I don't think the neighbors would prefer a gas station, a convenience store, a tire store, versus what we're proposing. Do you have what we sent you, please?
I'm trying to get it up. Apologies, Outlook's taking a second. Just in my email.
And while he's pulling that up, the city sent me a picture, and what they would prefer is the U-Haul facility downtown Memphis. I don't know if any of y'all seen that. It's multi-story. It's got glass all around it. You can see the orange doors from the outside. It's lit up. There's no landscaping. There's no fencing. We just can't be 2 totally different developments, what we're proposing and what the city asks us to build, the multi-story, no fence, no landscape. There's the U-Haul. And I don't want to be critical of U-Haul. They provide a great service for the community, and this is what the city wants me to build. But that's what the city wants me to put there. Those are the pictures they gave me. I said, it makes no sense. There's an overhead door. There's where they service, but there's all the outside signage. We're not having all the outside signage. You can see the landscape, and look at the landscape, and look at that building. These are the pictures that the city asked me to build there. I'm like, like saying, you got to be kidding. Now I'll build that. It's cheaper. I can put more square footage on it. But I'm trying to build something nice for the city and nice for my neighbors. And this is what the city sends me pictures of. You can see there's no fence, no nothing. There's a dumpster you can see just sitting out front. It just blows me away. I've done this for 50 years, and this is the first one that I'm just in shock over.
Okay.
And do you have the pictures of what we propose? Thank you.
And Madam Chair, can I clarify? This is an indoor multi-story facility. And as an example, this is not something that was intended. You build this exact same thing there. So just to be clear.
There's what we propose. One story, masonry facing the street, lots of landscaping, wrought iron fence with masonry columns. If we go up stories, 2 or 3 stories, they're all going to be lit up all night long. It's going to look like Topgolf. So, I mean, if he wants a Topgolf, we'll build one. But that's not what I propose to this board or to my neighbors, who I've told them that my preference is to do a 1-story for them, not a 2 or 3 story for me.
Okay, thank you. We have one more person in support. Mr. Lee? How many minutes we got? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lee. Can you give us your name and address, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Joseph Lee, 7351 Cotton Plant Cove, Memphis, 38119. And so I'm here just to make several comments on behalf of the residents in the Cotton Plant area, which is the area immediately west from the intersection of Barbera and Germantown. So we looked at the plans proposed by the developer, Mr. Tresvant. The single-level storage is the one that the neighbors mostly have affirmed to me that they would like to see developed if we're going to have a storage at that location. The neighbors strongly oppose the multi-level storage units that would go 2, 3, and 4 levels high. So they do not like that particular structure. The developer has indicated they're going to do very intense landscaping and going to do a lot of that to have an appealing street look and streetscape of the development. The other concerns that have been expressed also is as it relates to the egress and ingress on the traffic. Barbera is a very narrow street that goes between Germantown Road and Cotton Plant Road. Also, you have a school that's adjacent on the north side of Barbera, and you have a church, Southwoods Baptist Church, right adjacent to the school. Location, which is a voting location precinct as well. So you do have a lot of traffic there in terms of that. And I think the developer can speak to what their plans are with getting additional ingress and exiting, if you will, for traffic levels at that corner. But beyond that, that's what I wanted to share today. I did have some other texts from other individuals that couldn't make it, but I think I'm capturing and summarizing most of what's going on. I will say that we had a couple of residents who would absolutely prefer no storage facility at all, but this is what's being proposed at this time at that location.
Thank you. Any questions? Do you have any questions of Mr. Lee or the applicant? Okay,
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is the applicant finished with his?
We're finished.
You're finished? Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, well, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Mr. Gill?
I can't remember how to start this.
Motion to approve.
That's right. motion to approve MJR 2024-046.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. Do you want to vote individually or all together?
We can vote individually. I think that'd probably be
Okay.
best. Okay. Mr. Winter?
Yes.
Ms. O'Connell? Mr. Norman?
Abstain.
Mr. Gill?
I'm going to abstain.
Mr. McKinnon? Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Tolles?
Yes.
Ms., 1 second. We may have to amend a condition. Hold on a second. And yes, Madam Chair, I think just to clarify, okay, thank you. Mr. Wardrop will explain what you may want to amend.
Yeah, I just want to be 100% clear. So the conditions that are in front of you would require this 200-foot setback. It seems like, just reading the room, you may want to amend that. Just making sure that you're aware of what you're voting on.
So is there any discussion about that? Does everybody understand that the current conditions are to require the 200-foot setback? So any discussion?
I can say we can get rid of that.
Okay. All right, well, I will continue then. Thank you for the clarification, just to be clear. Ms. Wilbanks?
Make a motion to,
Oh. Did you say everybody's clear that you're good with the conditions we have?
well, you don't want the 200-foot setback, do you?
No, ma'am, we want what we've,
I mean, I like your landscaping. I would personally prefer, I'm fine with them not having 200-foot setback.
Okay, so I think that we need some more discussion. And so I think let's reopen.
Right, we'll reopen the public portion of the
No, we
meeting.
don't, we just need to have discussion, yes. So
Have a
let's have discussion. You guys discuss
Why don't we
the
just-
preference.
Why don't we just make can you just make you can make a motion to approve the site plan that the developer has submitted without the 200-foot setback? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. So if anyone wants,
Does that work
Ms.
for you?
Wilbanks?
Yeah, we want what we propose
Gotcha.
to be voted on.
Well, and I do think there may need, I just want to make sure that everyone's clear. So maybe let's have a moment for discussion on that, and then a motion can be made to that effect. So I think Ms. Wallace.
Well, the recommendation was rejection, but if approved. So if you all would like to allow them to not have the 200-foot setback, there needs to be, an amendment to the conditions. Sure. So our reasoning on that was, again, in an effort to try and encourage more active commercial retail-like uses, they could have the storage in the back, but along Germantown Road, there would be CMU2, so commercial use is allowed.
Yeah, I was going to add, I understand staff's theory here. They're trying to promote more active use on Germantown Parkway, especially in light of Topgolf and other activity. I think it's a noble effort, although hearing from the neighbors has been helpful to understand that they want lower scale density, which I also understand given some of the context of the neighborhood. So I would also support removing the proposed condition of the 200-foot setback.
So, are we voting on the,
Yeah, so if we can make an amendment, or a motion to amend the site plan to be the site plan that the developer has proposed. And then we would vote on that and then vote on approval.
Yeah, I think actually you could just move to approve it, striking this language I'm highlighting here with a minimum 200-foot setback, and that would be sufficient.
Can we see the applicant's site plan?
Yep.
May I make a comment, please?
The public portion's closed unless you want to reopen.
So are we re-voting? Going
Yes,
back
ma'am.
through the,
Yeah, we will revote. I think, let's get Mr. Winter's question answered here. Or Mr. Thomas, I can't remember what he said.
Yeah, good, thanks.
there was about 11 conditions if approved. Is that correct? Mr. Waldrop?
Could you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
If approved, there was about 11 conditions, right?
So there were amendments to the outline plan conditions.
Okay.
So, again, just sort of seeing where we are, I think if there was a motion to amend the condition to allow not a 200-foot setback, then that would be okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So Mr. Gill made the motion.
Sure. May I ask a question? Madam Chairman, did the neighborhood agree to this with those conditions in there, though? Anyone who can answer that? I heard Mr.
I
Lee.
can't say. I think we should probably open the public portion
Yes.
back up and let this, Mr. Lee speak.
Do we have a motion to reopen the public portion of the meeting? We have to vote on that.
If there's no objection, we can reopen that.
If there's no objection, we'll reopen the public portion, okay? Now, are there any questions?
I think, Mr. Thomas, you had a question for the neighborhood?
Yes.
Yes, so I think Mr. Lee maybe could answer that.
And Mr. Lee, while you're walking, I'll restate my question. I know you stated that the neighborhood, it sounds like, agreed to this, but we're stripping away several of there were conditions in there. So will the neighborhood still approve this if we take the conditions out?
Is there is this the way the development? It does not, okay.
So just to be clear, what we're talking about is removing the box that we show here in gray is what we were recommending be set aside for CMU2 uses, and then the mini storage would be behind that. So the current discussion is whether or not to remove that. And I believe someone was going to make a motion to allow the mini storage to go all the way to Germantown Parkway. So essentially we would remove that 200-foot setback requirement. And so I think that's what your question to the neighborhood is, would you be okay with that?
And I think that the setback was something that was.
Can we make sure to get it on the microphone here? Yes.
The setback was something that was desired originally so that the storage units would be further back from the street, if you will. So I think that was something that was desired early on. So I wouldn't want to make a unilateral decision on that myself, but I think part of that thought was to have visibility, less visibility from the storage units, one level instead of multi-levels, highly landscaped, if you will, so that it does not exactly stand out per se. But I think that was part of the thinking to have that setback.
So would it be prudent for us to hold this and let it go back to that community? Because they did approve it in their minds with there being a setback.
Well, I'm not sure what discussions were had between Mr. Tresvant and the neighbors. This is what we felt was an appropriate solution, is to allow the mini storage set back 200 feet. I think that the neighbors have Seeing some of the, it appears that they may or may not be okay with the mini storage. Would they prefer the 200-foot setback? It's, I think as Mr. Lee said, it's hard to make a unilateral, comment that everyone would or wouldn't, but that was what, as Mr. Woodruff said, we felt like that was a good compromise and a good solution.
But I thought I just heard Mr. Lee say that there was a discussion of having a setback from the neighborhood. And all I'm saying is I don't even know where this is. I think I know the area. I'm not against this project. I'm saying that if the neighborhood voted or their approval of this or going along with this under certain conditions, and now we're changing that, should it not go back? And I know I would be bothered if, so, whoa, where's this setback they got us to agree to?
If I may, I think we're getting conflated with a procedural issue. So staff has proposed a larger setback than what the applicant submitted. The 200-foot is what we want, that I think we were discussing removing, because staff was proposing a building, a taller, more dense building to be located closer to Germantown Parkway. That's what the gray box is, which is not what the applicant has submitted, and it's not what the neighborhood has reviewed, is my understanding.
Well, and just to clarify, that is not intended to be a building. That is just a portion of land that would allow CMU2 uses. So it's not, and it wouldn't necessarily be a storage. It wouldn't be anything except
Fair enough.
Yeah. So the intent of this, and I apologize, is that gray box would just be set aside for any other CMU2 use, or not just CMU2, I think, what is it, an OG, for those type of uses, and the mini storage would be behind that. So,
but my point is, if the board wishes to approve what the applicant has submitted, we need to remove the 200-foot setback.
Correct. That's correct. Yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve the applicant's site plan as submitted and remove the additional outline plan condition that says mini storage with a minimum 200-foot setback.
Second.
Okay, will we not have to close the public portion of the meeting before he can do that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me close the public portion of the meeting, and then, sir, you are welcome to make your motion.
I'll have to do it again.
That's okay, I got it.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, there's a second? Was there a second?
There was a second.
Okay.
I seconded it.
Any further discussion?
So this will be a vote, so you can just do a roll call on
Okay.
that motion.
On the motion, okay. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, you can just do a voice call on the motion to remove the 200-foot setback.
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, so that motion carries. My apologies, Madam Chair. I kind of messed that up. But, okay, so now we have the proposal for the mini storage as the developer has it planned, so without the 200-foot setback.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve MJR 2024-046.
Second.
As amended.
As amended.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, as amended. Is there any discussion? No further discussion? Okay, we're gonna do roll call, or we're gonna do
You can do a voice.
all in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Madam
Are
Chair.
we
And
okay?
I think we got through that one with a few bumps, but I apologize for that. I'll take responsibility for those bumps, so
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna go back to case number 6 again.
All right. Item number 6, SUP 2024-031 Parkway Village. Is the applicant here?
And again, this is at 5435 Fox Plaza Drive.
Mr. Ragsdale, I think the interpreter was under the impression we were holding it for her today. She's left.
Yeah.
So I move that we hold her.
Yes.
Okay.
Could
Do
I
we have
ask
a
a question? Why was it taken off the consent agenda?
There was someone that here in opposition. And so Ms. Ostadnia did speak with him, try to understand his opposition, and see if we can get any more information. So